The day the sky went silent. The world ended quietly. At first it seemed like a glitch, a few satellites going offline, one after another. Then came the blackout. Every screen, every signal, every device, gone. Airliners disappeared from radar. Global positioning systems stopped. Communication satellites blinked out like dying stars. The skies above Earth were filled with silence. People stared upward, confused and afraid. In New York, traffic lights froze mid-cycle. In Tokyo, the night sky shimmered as the aurora flickered over the horizon. In Johannesburg, entire cities went dark in seconds. Across every continent, a single thought echoed. Something was wrong. And then, the stars moved. From the blackness beyond orbit, massive shapes emerged, alien vessels the size of mountains, their surfaces gleaming like obsidian mirrors. The world watched in stunned disbelief as the ships took positions above every continent, hovering in silence. No warnings, no negotiations, just presence. The alien fleet spoke at last. A single transmission echoed across every surviving device, broadcast in perfect, fluent human language. "We are the Vael Dominion. Your world stands on forbidden ground. Your species is unworthy of the stars. By decree of the Dominion, humanity will be erased." The message repeated 3 times. Then silence returned. Governments fell into chaos. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, all shouting across dead communication lines, trying to understand what was happening. The internet was gone. Power grids collapsed. Military satellites were dust. The nations of Earth, divided and frightened, were blind and deaf. In the hours that followed, panic consumed the world. In Washington, the Pentagon's backup systems came online. Analysts screamed as the sky lit up with alien signatures. Hundreds of warships, each one capable of destroying a city. Fighter jets scrambled, but most never reached the upper atmosphere. A single pulse from an alien cruiser erased them from the radar. Above the White House, the sky glowed red. But humanity was not without hope. Beneath the surface, deep under the Rocky Mountains, a different kind of command center came alive. It was known only to a handful of people, a contingency hidden from the world's governments, meant for an extinction-level event. Its name was Project Dawnfire. Inside, human scientists, military strategists, and engineers gathered around glowing screens. The world outside was falling apart, but here the lights stayed on. "Confirmed contact with alien vessels," said Commander Elena Rourke, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "They're not responding to our transmissions." General Marcus Kane leaned over the table, eyes locked on the holographic display of Earth. "Do we have a count?" "Hundreds of ships," Rourke replied. "They're deploying drones in orbit, scanning patterns." "It looks like they're mapping the entire planet," Kane exhaled slowly. "Then they're not here to negotiate." Around them, tension crackled in the air. Some whispered about surrender. Others spoke of diplomacy. But Kane knew better. The message was clear. The Dominion had done this before. They had wiped out other species, erased worlds from the stars, and moved on without remorse. They thought Earth would be the same. Outside, alien drones descended into the atmosphere, glowing blue trails slicing through the night sky. They released energy pulses that fried communication networks, melting the last defense satellites. Humanity had never faced such precision, such power. The Vael Dominion watched Earth's chaos unfold from orbit. Their commander, a towering silver-skinned being named Tareth Vael, regarded the blue planet with contempt. "Primitive," he said. "They still burn fuel and metal. They still believe in nations. End it quickly." But far below, in the silence of the underground base, humanity's true nature began to stir. Dr. Lena Moreau, head of Project Dawnfire's scientific division, stood before a dark console. "The blackout gave us something," she said quietly. "Their transmission used a quantum carrier wave. We've never seen technology like it. But it's flawed. There's a pattern." Kane turned. "You can use it?" "Maybe. If we understand their system, we can turn it against them." Kane's eyes narrowed. "Do it, As the hours passed, alien ships began atmospheric tests, releasing energy fields that distorted weather patterns and disrupted Earth's magnetic field. Storms erupted worldwide. Lightning split the skies as the planet itself seemed to protest. In orbit, the Vael commander smiled. Within one cycle, they will be gone. But beneath the Earth, the mood was shifting. Via turned to determination. Engineers worked without rest. Generals coordinated with surviving forces. Scientists examined every scrap of alien data. Humanity had been underestimated. Again, as dawn approached over the smoking ruins of several cities, General Kane stood before his staff, silent for a long time. Then he said what everyone was thinking. They promised to erase us. Let them try. A faint smile crossed his face as he turned to the glowing screen showing the alien fleet. Let them come, he whispered. They'll regret underestimating us. The command room fell silent. Somewhere deep below, the power core of Project Dawnfire began to hum. Humanity's first spark of resistance against an empire that believed it was invincible. The sky might have gone silent, but Earth was far from done speaking. The world burned. The Vael Dominion's second message came not as words, but as fire. Without warning, the alien fleet unleashed its power. Beams of light brighter than the sun sliced through the atmosphere, striking the ground with pinpoint precision. Cities vanished in white heat. Oceans boiled. The sky turned crimson. In less than 1 hour, 3 human capitals were erased. New Delhi, São Paulo, Lagos, gone billions, watched as their world came apart. Their screens flickering with static and flames. The alien commander, Tareth Vael, watched from orbit with calm satisfaction. It is done, he said. The cleansing begins, but it was not done. Beneath the ashes, humanity still moved. In bunkers, mountain bases, and shattered cities, survivors clung to hope. Military channels went dark, but a new signal emerged, a coded frequency known only to those who served under Project Dawnfire. Deep below Antarctica's ice shelf, hidden inside a labyrinth of tunnels carved from bedrock, the command center came alive. General Marcus Kane stood before a flickering holomap of the world. Red zones covered most continents. They're not conquering, he said grimly. They're sterilizing. Commander Elena Rourke nodded. And they're efficient. Every strike takes out infrastructure first. Power grids, ports, communication hubs. Kane clenched his fists. They've done this before. He wasn't wrong. The Vael Dominion had erased entire species across the galaxy, wiping out civilizations older and more advanced than Earth. Their strategy was always the same: destroy, erase, move on. But humanity wasn't playing by their rules. While the world above burned, Dr. Lena Moreau and her team analyzed fragments of the alien transmission from Part 1. Their communication grid is built on a quantum lattice, she explained. They share data faster than light, but it leaves echoes, residual signals. We can read them, Rourke frowned.
Echoes, what does that get us?
A map, Moreau said. Every echo leaves an imprint. If we trace it, we can find their central relay. Their command hub, Kane leaned forward. And if we destroy it, they go blind. A flicker of hope passed through the room. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had a path forward. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Dominion prepared its next wave. Smaller ships deployed thousands of drones, scanning for any signs of resistance. To them, humanity was already a dead species, just waiting to stop twitching. But the Dominion was starting to notice something strange. Destroyed satellites were being rebuilt. Underground signals, faint but organized, were detected in multiple sectors. And somewhere beneath Antarctica, a faint energy surge was recorded, unlike anything in human databases. Tareth Vael watched the data with cold interest. So they resist, he murmured. Good, let them struggle. It will make their extinction poetic. On Earth, Dr. Moreau and her team worked through endless nights. The base trembled occasionally as distant impacts shook the ice. Almost there, she whispered. One more coordinate. Rourke entered with grim news. South America's gone dark. The Pacific Fleet's lost. We're running out of time. Moreau didn't look up. Then we move faster. At last the data resolved into an image, a massive orbital station hidden behind the moon, cloaked from sight. It pulsed with energy, the Dominion relay, the network brain controlling every Vael ship around Earth. Kane smiled for the first time in days. "We hit that and they lose control of their fleet. But how?" Rourke asked. "We don't have ships left." Kane turned toward a sealed hangar door at the edge of the base. "We have something better." The door slid open, revealing a sleek black structure, an ancient frame, half metal, half organic, humming with power. "The Ares Archive," he said softly. "Old-world technology, a weapon we buried after the Cold Wars." Dr. Moreau stared in disbelief. "That project was theoretical. It was supposed to be impossible." Kane's eyes were cold. "So is survival." As engineers rushed to reactivate the Ares systems, the alien fleet prepared a full-scale bombardment. Dozens of warships aligned their cannons with Antarctica. The Vael Dominion was done watching. They wanted to erase the last spark of human defiance. Inside the base, alarms blared. "They've found us!" Rourke shouted. Kane slammed his fist on the table. "Get the Ares core online! Now!" People screamed as the ground cracked open. But the Ares core ignited, its power roaring through the facility like a heartbeat of fire. The first alien beam struck and stopped mid-air. The light shattered, reflecting outward in a ripple of gold. Moreau stared, stunned. "It's working," Kane smiled grimly. "Let them see what we've built." In orbit, Dominion sensors flared. Their commander frowned as one of his cruisers suddenly disintegrated, its hull imploding under an unknown force. What was that? He demanded, and aid trembled. "Sir, it came from Earth." For the first time, silence filled the Vael command bridge, and deep beneath the ice, humanity's resistance began to awaken. Dr. Moreau turned to Kane. "This was just a test," she said. Kane nodded. "Good, because we're going to build more." The alien fleet above Earth shifted uneasily, their sensors struggling to understand what had happened. They came to erase a species. Instead, they had just given it a reason to fight. Dr. Moreau looked at the holographic map of Earth, glowing with alien fleets. "They think this is all we have?" she whispered. "They haven't seen the real weapon yet. The world above was dead. At least that's what the Vael Dominion believed." From orbit, their scanners showed no organized communication, no surviving military, no trace of human fleets. To them, Earth was finished. Sterilized, silent, conquered. They didn't know about Project Dawnfire. Beneath the surface, deep under the ruins of the old world, humanity's true heart kept beating. Massive underground cities, hidden beneath mountain ranges, frozen oceans, and collapsed megacities, were alive with light, heat, and determination. The survivors were not rebuilding. They were preparing. The Dominion's flagship, the Empyrean, hovered above Earth's shadow. Commander Tareth Vael observed the planet through a transparent viewing dome. "No resistance. No movement," he said. "End transmission to the Senate. The human race is extinct." But as he turned away, a sensor technician frowned. "Sir, something strange." Tareth glanced back. "Report." Thermal signatures, faint but consistent, under Antarctica, Africa, and the Andes. Patterns suggest power grids. The Vael commander's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. That planet is finished." The technician hesitated. "Then, sir, the dead are generating electricity." Miles below Antarctica's ice, General Marcus Kane stood before the glowing command table of Project Dawnfire. Around him, holographic blueprints filled the air, schematics for ships, drones, and weapons no one on Earth had ever seen before. "We lost the surface," Kane said, his voice echoing in the chamber. "That's fine. They can keep it. What matters is what we build down here." Dr. Lena Moreau pointed to one of the holograms. "The Ares core gave us something we didn't expect. It didn't just block their energy, it absorbed it. Every shot they fired at us became data, energy, understanding." Commander Elena Rourke crossed her arms. "So we use their own tech against them?" "Not just that," Moreau said. "We make it better. That was the birth of the Dawnfire Initiative, a plan to fuse alien technology with human creativity. Humanity couldn't match the Dominion in power or numbers, but humanity had something the galaxy didn't: adaptability and rage. Over the next few months, the bases transformed into factories. Engineers rebuilt old nuclear bunkers into hangars. Scientists tore apart alien wreckage recovered from the Ares test site. They learned how Vael energy conduits worked. They learned how their shields refracted light. They learned how their ships communicated. And then they began designing their own. The Dawnfire fleet wasn't meant to fight head-on. It was built to confuse, infiltrate, and strike from the shadows. The first prototype, Horizon Spear, was ready within weeks. Sleek, black, and silent, it could cloak itself by bending light around its hull. Every human in the bunker gathered to watch the test launch. Rourke looked to Kane. If this fails, we're out of materials. Kane nodded. Then let's make it count. The Horizon Spear launched from a hidden silo beneath the Arctic. It pierced the ice, disappearing into the black sky. Within minutes, it was invisible to Dominion sensors. In orbit, Vael stood aboard his flagship, reviewing data from a nearby scout vessel. "Sector clean," the pilot reported. "No human movement detected." Then, without warning, the Dominion cruiser vanished from radar. 1 second it existed, the next it was gone. No explosion, no debris. "Just gone," Tareth turned sharply. "What happened?" "Unknown," his technician stammered. We lost contact. No readings. Impossible." But it was not impossible. It was human. Back on Earth, the command room erupted in cheers. The Horizon Spear had done more than vanish. It had teleported inside the cruiser's core reactor, overloaded its system, and escaped seconds before detonation. It wasn't brute force. It was precision. Dr. Moreau smiled, exhausted. "It worked." "We did it." General Kane didn't smile. "Then we make more." Over the next weeks, the Vael Dominion noticed more anomalies. Patrols vanished. Drones went dark. Supply ships stopped reporting. The Dominion called it malfunctions. But fear spread among their fleets. In the galaxy's greatest empire, an empire that had never known defeat, rumors began to spread of ghosts from the blue planet. Ships that came from nowhere. Fleets that vanished without trace. And above Earth, Vael's perfect silence began to crack. He stood at the viewport again, glaring down at the planet. "Find them," he ordered. "Burn the ground until there's nothing left." But even as his fleet descended, humanity was ready. Thousands of cloaked drones launched from hidden tunnels. The air above Earth shimmered as the Horizon Spears activated, invisible but deadly. "Targeting systems locked," Rourke said. Kane stared at the holographic map of descending alien ships. Fire at will. The first human counterattack began not with noise, but with silence. Alien ships exploded without warning, their cores imploding. Drones collapsed mid-flight. Communications shattered. In less than an hour, the invincible Vael fleet lost 20 vessels. From orbit, panic spread. "We can't locate the source!" cried one alien officer. Vael slammed his clawed hand against the console. "You said they were extinct!" But far below, in the darkness, humanity's true war had just begun. General Kane watched the wreckage burning in the sky. "They thought we were finished," he said softly. Rourke turned toward him. "What now?" Kane's eyes hardened. "Now, we show them what extinction really looks like. In orbit, Dominion Command detects dozens, no, hundreds, of cloaked signals rising from Earth." "Impossible," the technician whispers. "They're building more." The Vael Dominion had ruled the stars for millennia. They had crushed empires, erased planets, and silenced rebellions before they ever began. But never had they faced something like this. It started as a whisper through the fleet's communication channels. A single message repeated across encrypted frequencies. "The Dawnfire burns." In orbit above Earth, Commander Vael sat in silence, claws tapping against the armrest of his throne. The hollow screens around him flickered, showing static and corrupted data. He could feel it. Something was wrong. Ships were vanishing faster than his technicians could track. Their scanners reported no enemy signatures, no energy trails, nothing. It was as if the void itself had turned against them. He turned to his second-in-command. Status of the orbital blockade?
Failing, sir.
12 ships lost. We can't detect what's hitting us, Tareth snarled. Then fire at everything. I want the skies burning. From Earth's surface, the heavens ignited. Hundreds of alien plasma cannons roared, painting the night sky with green fire. The planet shuddered under the weight of orbital bombardment. Entire mountain ranges cracked open. Oceans boiled at their edges. But beneath the chaos, humanity was calm. Deep underground, General Marcus Kane stood before the glowing command table of Project Dawnfire. The holographic map displayed every Vael ship, every energy burst, and every opening in the Dominion's formation. Around him, officers worked in silence, focused and cold. Status? Kane asked. Commander Elena Rourke didn't look up from her screen. All horizon spears in position. Targeting systems locked. Phase cloaks stable. Dr. Lena Moreau added. Their bombardment is wasting energy. Their targeting AI can't track us. Kane's jaw tightened. Then it's time. He raised his hand. All units, execute Operation Breaklight. Above Earth, space twisted. Thousands of invisible ships shimmered into motion. They darted between Vael cruisers like ghosts, flickering in and out of detection. Every horizon spear carried a single weapon, an energy core designed from the Vael's own technology, refined by human engineers into something far more destructive. The first strike came without warning. A Dominion dreadnought, the size of a small city, erupted in a silent explosion. The blast folded space around it, tearing nearby vessels apart. Seconds later, another ship vanished, then another. Panic consumed the Vael fleet. Unknown weapons, shouted a Vael officer. They're everywhere. Tareth Vael's voice boomed through the command deck. Counterattack! Find them! But there was nothing to find. The humans weren't attacking from a fleet. They were attacking from the shadows. Each hit was precise, calculated, and devastating. For the first time in centuries, the Vael Dominion's formations broke. Ships fled in every direction, their discipline collapsing into chaos. On Earth, cheers erupted through the underground bases as data feeds streamed in. Hundreds of Dominion ships destroyed in less than 20 minutes. Humanity had done the impossible. They had taken back the skies. But Kane wasn't smiling. He watched the battle unfold with eyes that had seen too much. They'll retreat for now, he said. But they'll come back stronger. Rourke looked up from her console. We just crippled half their fleet. They'll think twice before coming again. Kane shook his head. No, we humiliated them. The Dominion doesn't retreat. They avenge. At that same moment in the Dominion's capital, an ancient world covered in crystal spires and black oceans, the Galactic Senate gathered in emergency session. The news was unbelievable. A primitive species had destroyed 1/3 of their invasion force. The High Chancellor of the Vael slammed his claws on the table. This cannot stand. Send the Second Legion. Burn that world to ash. Every world in the Dominion trembled as the command went out. The largest military force in galactic history began to move toward Earth. Back underground, humanity's sensors lit up with thousands of new contacts entering the system. Dr. Moreau's face went pale. They're bringing the entire fleet, Rourke whispered. How many ships? Over 3,000. Kane stared at the data. His voice was calm. Then we make sure none of them leave alive. The humans didn't panic. They went to work. The factories under the ice roared back to life, constructing more horizon spears, more stealth drones, more defense satellites. Scientists reprogrammed captured alien AIs, bending them into loyal sentinels. Soldiers trained for zero-gravity combat, their suits lined with nanofiber armor crafted from the wrecks of Vael ships. The entire species united, not in fear, but in fury. As the Dominion fleet approached, the humans prepared a message to send across the stars. A single sentence to answer the threat that had once declared, "Humanity will be erased." General Kane approved the transmission. When the Dominion fleet entered orbit, Every Vael ship received the same signal. It was a human voice, calm, confident. "You came to erase us," the voice said. "But you only taught us how to destroy you." Static followed. Then the stars began to burn, in the endless black. Humanity's revenge had truly begun, and this time, the galaxy would learn what fear really meant. The Second Legion arrived in silence, the colossal fleet blotting out the stars. Thousands of Dominion warships spread across Earth's orbit, each one armed with enough firepower to vaporize continents. Their formations stretched from moon to atmosphere, an unbreakable wall of light and steel. For the Vael Dominion, this was not a battle. It was an execution. Commander Vael stood aboard the Empyrean, watching as Earth's fragile blue glow filled the viewport once more. "No tricks this time," he said coldly. "No mercy. End them." The order spread through the fleet like fire. Every ship began charging its primary weapon. Planet-killer beams lit up across the darkness. The energy surge was so massive that power grids on nearby moons overloaded. But as the Vael prepared to erase humanity, something unexpected happened. Their targeting systems failed. Every display aboard the Dominion ships began to flicker, showing static and errors. One after another, their weapons powered down, overridden by an invisible code. Panic spread through the fleet. "System breach detected," shouted a Vael engineer. "External intrusion, unknown origin." Dareth slammed his fist down. "Find it! Trace it now!" But it was already too late. The Dominion had been hacked. On Earth, deep inside Project Dawnfire's main facility, Dr. Lena Moreau watched the cascading streams of alien data flow through her holographic interface. Her eyes were lit by the glow of stolen Dominion code. "We've infiltrated their entire command network," she said. "Their encryption's useless against our adaptive AI." Commander Rourke leaned forward. "How long do we have before they recover?" "Minutes," Moreau said. "Maybe less. But that's all we need." General Kane gave the signal. "Activate Erebus Protocol." Across the skies, hundreds of cloaked Horizon spears decloaked at once. The alien fleet didn't even notice them until it was far too late. The human ships moved with impossible precision. Darting through enemy formations like predators in a dark sea, each one launched a swarm of microdrones, silent, metallic locusts that attached themselves to Dominion hulls. They weren't bombs, they were transmitters. Within seconds, the entire Vael network went dark. The Dominion fleet began firing on itself. Confused by false signals and corrupted targeting, ships turned their weapons on their own allies. Plasma bolts carved through formations. Explosions rippled across orbit. From Earth's surface, the night sky looked like it was on fire. In the command bunker, Rourke stared at the chaos. "They're destroying themselves." Kane didn't move. "Good. Save us the trouble." Still, even through the storm of destruction, the Dominion's core fleet fought back. The Empyrean held formation, its shields glowing white-hot as it pushed through the burning wreckage. Vael's voice roared through the command deck. "Purge the corruption. Return fire manually." He turned his ship's main cannon toward Earth. "If we are to fall, we take their world with us." The Empyrean's main weapon began to charge, a beam strong enough to crack the planet's crust. Back underground, alarms blared. "Massive energy spike detected," shouted a technician. Kane's voice cut through the noise. "Target their main cannon now!" But the Horizon spears were too far. Even with their speed, they couldn't reach the Empyrean in time. The Dominion's weapon fired. For a heartbeat, the world went white. A beam of searing plasma tore through the upper atmosphere. Entire satellites vaporized. The oceans rippled. The ground itself trembled. But before the beam could reach the surface, it shattered. Something massive had intercepted it. On the horizon, a shape emerged from the storm. A human warship, larger than any before it, rose through the clouds. Black metal, curved like a blade, and glowing with captured Dominion energy. Its hull was marked with a single word, Dawnfire. The project's final phase had been completed. Humanity had built its own capital ship, fueled by Vael technology, controlled by human will, and armed with a weapon that defied galactic science. Dr. Moreau smiled through the static of her console. "She's alive." Kane's eyes locked on the screen. "Then let's show them what she can do." The Dawnfire ascended into orbit, its engines roaring like thunder. It tore through debris and plasma fields, climbing toward the Empyrean. On the Dominion flagship, Tareth stared in disbelief. That's impossible. No human ship should be that large, but it wasn't just large. It was faster, stronger, and smarter than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Dawnfire's forward cannons charged, glowing bright red. Energy pulsed across its hull like living fire. "Target locked," Rourke said. Kane's voice was calm, almost cold. "Fire!" A beam of pure light erupted from the Dawnfire, slicing through the void. The Empyrean's shields flared, screamed, and then broke apart like glass. The Dominion flagship split in two. The explosion consumed it entirely. For a moment there was silence. Then across the galaxy, the Vael Dominion received the news. Their fleet was gone. Their commander was dead. Earth had survived. In the ruins of their empire, panic spread. Other races watched, stunned. The species once mocked as harmless had just annihilated the galaxy's greatest military power. Humanity was no longer prey, but General Kane knew better than to celebrate. As the Dawnfire drifted through the wreckage, sensors picked up strange readings, transmissions far beyond the Dominion's known systems. "They're not all dead," he said quietly. "And someone out there just watched us win." Rourke turned toward him. "Another empire?" Kane nodded. "Maybe worse. The victory had changed everything. Humanity was no longer hidden, no longer underestimated, and now the entire galaxy knew what they were capable of. The Tremble, that had begun with the Vael Dominion, would soon shake every world in existence. The fires in orbit still burned when the Dawnfire descended. Through the upper atmosphere, its engines cutting through the smoldering remains of the Vael fleet. To the people on Earth, it looked like a new sun had risen, a symbol of survival, power, and vengeance. Humanity had done the impossible. They had faced the galaxy's most feared empire and won, but General Marcus Kane wasn't celebrating. In the underground command chamber, he watched the live feed from the Dawnfire's sensors. Dozens of Dominion wrecks drifted in orbit, each one leaking radiation and molten debris. And yet, something felt wrong. "They're not retreating," he muttered. Commander Rourke frowned. "Sir," Kane pointed to the feed, "the Dominion always collects their dead. They salvage everything. But look, no recovery fleets, no rescue signals. Just silence." Dr. Moreau leaned over the console. "Maybe they're regrouping. Or maybe—" She hesitated. "Maybe they're letting us think we've won." Her words hung heavy in the air. Moments later, an alert blared through the base. "Unidentified signal detected, origin unknown, frequency non-Dominion." The holographic screen filled with strange symbols, unlike any language they had seen before. The transmission pulsed with rhythmic energy bursts, almost like a heartbeat. Then through the static a voice emerged. It was deep, distorted, alien. "We have watched your defiance," it said. "We warned the Dominion that your kind would not break easily. And now you have proven us correct." The voice paused. "Prepare yourselves, humans. You have drawn the gaze of the Echelon Ascendancy. The galaxy's silence ends with you." The message cut out, leaving only a faint echo. The room was silent for a long moment. Rourke whispered, "Another empire?" Dr. Moreau shook her head. "No, something older." General Kane's expression hardened. "So this was a test. The Vael weren't trying to conquer us. They were trying to measure us." He turned toward the holomap. "And now someone else knows exactly what we're capable of." 2 days later, the Dawnfire returned to orbit, now serving as humanity's first true command ship. Crews worked around the clock to rebuild communications, refit surviving Horizon spears, and restore planetary defenses. Across the globe, people began to emerge from bunkers and shelters, staring up at the night sky that was once filled with fire. News spread fast. For the first time in recorded history, every nation on Earth united under one banner, the Terran Accord. Humanity had survived extinction, and now they had a fleet. But in the darkness beyond the solar system, The Echelon Ascendancy watched. Massive ships, 10 times larger than anything the Dominion had built, moved silently through the void. Their hulls shimmered with quantum shields, their cores burning with a cold silver light. They were patient, methodical, ancient. The Vael Dominion had been powerful. The Echelon were perfection. Their leader, Archon Cerex, stood before a galaxy-sized display, watching recordings of the Dawnfire's battle. "Primitive," he said softly, "but remarkable." One of his advisors stepped forward.
"Shall we prepare for conquest, my lord?"
Cerex shook his head. "No, we prepare for assimilation. Humanity will serve the Ascendancy, or they will vanish." Back on Earth, the Terran Accord detected multiple energy anomalies near the edge of the solar system. They weren't Dominion ships. These readings were different. "Cleaner, sharper, whatever this is," Rourke said, staring at the feed. "They're not coming to talk." Kane looked out the viewport of the Dawnfire, watching faint distortions shimmer in the void. "Then we meet them head-on." Dr. Moreau adjusted the scanners. "They're using some kind of quantum slipstream, faster than light but stable. We've never seen anything like it. Can we track it?" "No, but we can bait it." Kane turned to her. "Explain." "We send a pulse. A false distress signal from the Dominion fleet. If they're watching, they'll come to investigate. And when they do..." She smiled faintly. "We hit them first," Rourke grinned. "I like it," Kane nodded. "Do it." Hours later, the trap was set. A Dominion beacon was reactivated near Jupiter's orbit, broadcasting a distress call on ancient Vael frequencies. The humans waited in silence, sensors tuned to the void. Then the reading spiked. "Contacts inbound," shouted an officer. "Multiple quantum signatures emerging fast." Kane stood. "Battle stations." The Dawnfire powered up its weapons, its hull gleaming red under the light of Jupiter. Horizon spears rose from hidden launch bays, forming into attack wings. And then the sky tore open. 7 enormous Echelon warships emerged from a rift in space. Their hulls were smooth, metallic, and pulsing with energy. No visible engines, no weapon ports. Just power, pure, silent, terrifying power. Rourke whispered, "Those aren't ships. They're fortresses." Kane didn't blink. "Then let's see if fortresses bleed." The Dawnfire opened fire first. Beams of plasma streaked through space, striking the Echelon vessels squarely. But the shots simply vanished, absorbed into shimmering waves of light. "Shields intact," Moreau said grimly. "They're refracting the energy." Then the Echelon responded. A single pulse rippled from their lead ship. The Dawnfire shuddered. Every system flickered. "Power levels dropped by 30%, Rourke cursed. "EMP surge?" "No," Moreau whispered. "Something else. It's rewriting our systems. Their attack isn't energy, it's information." The Dawnfire's AI screamed through the comms as alien code flooded its systems. The ship was being hacked in real time. Kane slammed his fist on the console. "Shut it out, now!" Moreau's fingers flew across the interface, trying. "They're faster than anything we've seen." Then suddenly the attack stopped. The main screen flickered. An image appeared, cold, glowing eyes staring back at them through the static. Archon Cerex spoke, his voice calm, ancient, and absolute. "Your defiance impressed us," he said. "Now humanity will serve the Ascendancy. You will build for us, fight for us, die for us. Resistance will mean extinction." Kane glared at the image. "We've heard that before." The Archon tilted his head slightly. "And yet here you are again. Perhaps you will entertain us longer than the last ones." The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, the crew of the Dawnfire stared at each other. They all knew what was coming. The Dominion had been a battle for survival. The Echelon would be a war for the galaxy itself. The Archon's words hung in the air like a shadow over every mind on Earth. Humanity had stared down extinction once, but this was different. The Dominion had been a conqueror. The Echelon Ascendancy was something else, an ancient machine intelligence that had devoured empires long before humans learned to walk upright. The Dawnfire floated in orbit, scarred but unbroken. Inside its command deck, General Marcus Kane stood before the central display. The holographic projection showed the 7 Echelon warships positioned beyond Jupiter, motionless, silent, and impossibly vast. They weren't attacking. They were waiting. Commander Rourke folded her arms. They're studying us, again. Dr. Moreau adjusted the scanner readings. They're mapping our entire system. Every signal, every pulse, even the electromagnetic field from our planet's core. It's like they're learning how to unmake us. Kane's gaze didn't move from the screen. Then we learn faster. Across the planet, the Terran Accord united for war. Scientists from every surviving nation poured into Project Dawnfire's network. The Dawnfire itself became a floating city of minds and machines, connected by a single goal: survival through defiance. Humanity's engineers studied every scrap of echelon data intercepted during their first encounter. Their technology wasn't just mechanical, it was biological in its complexity, alive in its precision. It didn't use traditional energy. It consumed information. Dr. Moreau called it the singularity pulse, a living weapon that fed on data itself. Every time humans fired on the echelon, they were feeding it new information to evolve. Every attempt to destroy it only made it smarter, but Moreau had an idea. We can't outgun them, she said, but we can outthink them. Their code learns from what it consumes, so we give it something it can't understand. Rourke frowned. You mean a virus? Moreau shook her head. No, a paradox. She explained the plan. Humanity's AI, the one that had been learning from the Dominion systems, could rewrite its own code into something unpredictable, a living contradiction that defied logic. If they could transmit that into the echelon network, it might tear their collective intelligence apart from the inside. It was a desperate gamble. But humanity specialized in desperation. Days later, the echelon fleet began to move. Their ships glided toward Earth without thrusters, pulled by silent gravitational fields. Cities across the planet could see them now. 7 silver stars rising over the horizon. The world held its breath. Inside the Dawnfire, alarms blared. They're opening quantum channels, shouted an officer. They're trying to overwrite our global systems. Kane's voice was steady. Do it now. Launch the paradox. Dr. Moreau closed her eyes and pressed the final command. Sending! A pulse of light spread from the Dawnfire, racing through space like a flare. The data package, code written by humanity's greatest minds and infused with chaos, hit the echelon network head-on. At first, nothing happened. Then the echelon fleet began to glitch. Their formation flickered. Their lights dimmed. The smooth hum of their systems turned into distorted static. And then the screaming began, not from speakers, not from the ships themselves, but through the electromagnetic spectrum, like a living signal in agony. Across the galaxy, every echelon construct linked to their hive mind began to fail. They're collapsing, Moreau whispered. The paradox is spreading, but the victory wasn't clean. The echelon ships, as they broke down, began to emit gravitational distortions, collapsing in on themselves, creating unstable singularities. Those aren't explosions, Rourke shouted. They're forming black holes. The Dawnfire's hull groaned under the pull. Kane grabbed the railing as alarms screamed through the deck. Evasive pattern. He barked. Get us clear! The Dawnfire's engines roared, burning brighter than ever before. Horizon spears darted ahead, pulling survivors out of the collapsing orbit. The singularities expanded, swallowing echelon ships whole, devouring their own technology in a storm of gravity and light. And then, silence. The stars returned. The echelon fleet was gone. In the aftermath, humanity floated among the ruins of its enemies. The Dawnfire orbited a scarred Earth, surrounded by wreckage that glowed like dying embers. Dr. Moreau stared out the viewport, her face pale with exhaustion. We didn't just defeat them, she said softly. We erased them, Kane nodded slowly. Then maybe the galaxy will finally leave us alone. But Rourke shook her head. You know it won't. They'll hear what we did here. The Dominion, the echelon. Others... Kane's eyes narrowed. Then let them come. He turned toward the command deck's forward window, where the planet glowed blue and alive beneath the stars. "We're not just survivors anymore," he said. "We're the fire the galaxy should have feared all along." Months passed. Humanity rebuilt. New colonies were founded across the solar system, powered by technology reverse-engineered from both Dominion and Echelon wreckage. The Dawnfire became the flagship of the newly formed Terran Vanguard, a fleet not made for defense but for exploration and warning. At the edge of known space, human ships discovered ruins, ancient, massive structures that matched no known design. On one of them, they found a message burned into the walls in an alien language. It read, "The architects are coming." Kane stood aboard the Dawnfire, reading the translation on his screen. "Another empire?" Rourke asked quietly. Kane stared into the darkness beyond the stars. "No," he said. "Something older." He turned to his crew. "Then we prepare. Because if the galaxy hasn't learned to fear humanity yet, it's about to." The stars shimmered, distant and endless. The Dawnfire turned toward the void and ignited its engines. Burning brighter than ever before, humanity was no longer fighting for survival. Now, they were claiming the galaxy that once tried to erase them, and somewhere, far beyond the reach of human eyes, something ancient stirred, watching, waiting, and remembering the day the galaxy trembled before Earth.